Okay, well, why don't we get started? We have a quorum, so we can do that. Jerry's connecting here. Um, so let's call a meeting to order, and we'll do a roll call. If you could just, state your name, um, your full name. We'll go through that. Yeah, so in alphabetical order, Sal,
Sal Bramante here.
Jerry. Jerry, you're muted. Okay, why don't we move on? Sophie,
Sophie Hansen.
Kevin,
Kevin Sexton here.
and Joan,
Joan Wetzel here.
and Rick Lopez. Okay. Oh, and Carrie,
I'm here.
you're
Sorry.
here. Okay.
I'm here. Here I come.
Um, and I think GC is Jerry, but
Yeah.
Jerry, if you're on, you're muted. I guess not. Okay. So let me just review tonight's agenda. We don't have the minutes yet from September. Hopefully we'll have those at whenever our next meeting is. Aday is going to introduce our new health inspector. We'll have some time for public comment if there is any. We'll talk a little bit about rodent management and follow up on the Pineville Street complaint. And then there's some proposed new regulations for Section 10 on human habitation, and the usual monthly report and final comments, and then we'll adjourn. So that's the plan for tonight. I think, Carrie, you had a couple announcements you wanted to do, so why don't we start with that?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, there were a couple things I wanted to say. First off, I had the opportunity to attend the Mass Health Officers Association annual conference that was held last week in Springfield as part of my work. And and it was a great conference. Aday was unfortunately unable to join us, and I really hope, Aday, that we are getting you out of those straits so that you will be able to attend in the future. And I promise that I took good notes. And it was a great conference, and I had the opportunity to spend time with our public health nurse, which was wonderful. It was a great opportunity, and I think we are really fortunate to have Liv joining us. I'm really excited about what she's going to be able to bring to the town, and what her ability to work with Aday and her knowledge. I just think it's a great thing. So, and one of the topics, actually the closing event, was a double session on Friday morning entitled Rats, 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 or was it Rats, Rats, and More Rats? And it was illuminating and eye-opening, and I was glad I attended even before I knew kind of where we were on our agenda. I mean, there were any number of sessions. I think it would be hard to highlight, but there's a lot happening in public health, and I'm really proud to be part of the public health workforce and the public health board. We do important work. So that was MHOA, and then today Governor Healy signed. She signed the economic development bill, which included within it, here we go. Mass Leads Act. So she just signed it today. The Mass Leads Act is an economic development bill that includes all sorts of things for life sciences and opportunity for rural and business development, and it includes the provisions of SAFE 2.0, which is about the funding for public health, funding for local health departments, and codifying some workforce requirements, codifying the relationship and the need for collaboration and funding in order to meet the public health requirements that exist, both the existing statutory requirements and the foundational public health services. So it's really an exciting time to be in public health. And I just wanted to make sure and highlight that. The effort to get SAFE 2.0 passed was an enormous one. And anyone who works in public health owes a debt of gratitude to Mass Public Health Association and any number of folks all around the Commonwealth, from local health departments, big and small, that have been working tirelessly to educate the legislature about the important work that public health does. So really nice to see a supportive measure acknowledging all of that. That's all I
Great.
have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll try to get, I'm not familiar with this, but maybe we can try to get some information about that out to the board members in terms of the detail of is it SAFE or SAF?
Safe
Safe.
is, well, some people say SAFE, and it's SAPHE 2.0. That was the
2.0.
original bill.
Yeah,
And that was when it was filed as SAFE 2.0. And then as it went through review and in different committee assessment, you know, it was deemed that it was appropriately included with the economic development larger bill, or I don't know, maybe they put them all together into that. But so yeah, so Mass, sorry, what did I say it was? Mass Leads Act is the act that was signed, and it includes the provisions of SAFE 2.0. I am actually trying to get the one pager from Mass Public Health Association.
that would be
and when I
great.
get
if
it-
you could
When I get
distribute
it, I'll pass
Yeah.
it along. Yeah, I need it for my own stuff, so I'll pass it along. Yeah, and yeah, just good times.
Good.
Good
Thank
times.
you.
Nice to have
It's
some.
helpful.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Carrie. On that note, I would like to introduce our new health inspector, Amelia Celito. Amelia previously worked as a health inspector for the town of Wellesley and the city of Medford. She has prior experience conducting environmental health inspections, including but not limited to food inspections, swimming pool inspections, body art inspections, and housing inspections. She received her master's degree in public health at the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences in Boston. Amelia is going to do great things for our community. She hit the ground running from day one with a record number of inspections conducted during the month of October. Please join me in welcoming Amelia to our health department.
Yay.
Welcome.
Welcome, Amelia.
Welcome.
Great to have you. It's good. Okay. Moving on, public comment. There's a couple, I see Jennifer Colleen. Jennifer, did you want to make a comment or a statement today?
I would, I appreciate that.
Sure.
So I am a homeowner on Pineville Avenue. I know it's on your agenda tonight. And I had attended the meeting back in September. I just wanted to join because I know the issue continues to persist, and I just wanted to really recap some of the things that I shared a few months ago. First of which is that, you know, members of our neighborhood have been expressing concerns about dumpster management and rodent activity to town officials in this body for, well, documented back as long as 5 years ago. Speaking for myself, I personally submitted my first public nuisance complaint back in January. And here we are 11 months later, and I have not received any updates on how the town intends to kind of manage this issue. The situation remains exactly the same. Just this weekend, the dumpster behind Domino's the cover is left off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just wide open. Animals have free access to food and they scatter trash all over the place, and this is a daily occurrence. While I understand that all communities are grappling with rodent issues, I mean, there's just really no justification for ignoring public complaints, failing to enforce basic sanitation standards, and allowing unsanitary conditions to persist as long as this has. Specifically, this problem is extremely straightforward. I mean, there is a dumpster filled with accessible food, unsecured, directly next to a brook. It doesn't seem like we need to reinvent the wheel to address this problem. It's just really requires enforcement. Jane reached out to me. I'm encouraged to hear that there are some ARPA funds being allocated for rodent mitigation. However, I'm deeply concerned that if this plan does not include robust measures to hold businesses and landlords accountable for proper dumpster management, it will fail to address the root cause to begin with. The town's own dumpster management program, posted on the website, explicitly states that dumpsters must have sufficient capacity, remain closed when not in use, and are maintained to prevent odors, rodents, and scattered debris, and that violations are subject to fines up to $50 a day. Yet there's been absolutely no enforcement in this particular situation at all. Based on those regulations or the dumpster program, Domino's alone could be fined over $18,000 just for this past year due to non-compliance. But instead, this problem just persists completely unchecked. So at the last meeting, I know this body committed to presenting a comprehensive plan to address this issue, and I really just want to urge you all to ensure that that plan includes actionable strategies to enforce existing regulations and hold businesses and landlords accountable and prevent this from becoming a reoccurring issue as the CPDC approves denser developments in our area and across the town. Without these types of measures, any effort to address rodent activity is just going to be short-lived. So I'm happy to be part of the solution and will continue to be engaged in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to kind of underline the problem here. And I'm anxious to hear more about a more comprehensive program, as well as specifically addressing the Pineville issue, which came to our attention in the fall, although you've been bringing it for some time. Although I think the board first heard about it in September. So appreciate your coming, emphasizing what the concerns and issues are, very legitimate. And you know, I'm not sure if you're going to stay for the meeting or not, but we'll be talking about this issue at some length tonight. And actually, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aday to talk more about a comprehensive rodent management program.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. I am trying to share my screen. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So for a while now, we've been receiving calls related to rat sightings within the town of Reading. The town currently does not have a town-wide rodent management plan, and we, the health department, are looking to implement one. In order to figure out how to address this situation, we had to assess the problem first and then determine how our town is being impacted. We had to figure out what areas are being affected the most and why. And that way we'll be able to come up with a comprehensive strategy to deal with the issue. And as a result, we put together a rodent map with the help of a genius named Matt Dean who is the town's GIS expert. And basically what the map does is show us the level of rodent activity in different sections of the town over a given period of time. As you can see, the map is searchable. You can plug in any address and get, results. I would go ahead and plug in Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street. Right, so this is Town Hall right here. And, based on the search, you can see that there is little to no rodent activity in this area within the past year. Right, let me get out of that. All right, so to get this map up and running, what we did was input addresses and areas where rodent sightings have been reported within the past year. And then we did a map overlay with areas undergoing housing construction, areas where annual dumpsters are located, areas where street opening and drain laying activities are occurring, and areas where sewer and stormwater networks exist. So if you look at the legend, so the black diamonds at the, they're the rodent sightings. The orange, what's this, octagon? Those are the street opening permits. The turquoise octagon, those are the drain laying permits. The blue dumpsters, those are the annual dumpsters that are mostly restaurant dumpsters. And then we have the temporary dumpsters, which are associated with building construction. And then we have, the P, which is the sewer pump station. The green lines are the sewer networks, and the blue lines are the stormwater networks. So if you look at this map, you can see that a lot of the rodent sightings are in areas where there is a concentration of annual dumpsters, the blue dumpsters associated with restaurants. They're also in areas with high road construction and drain laying activities. And they're also in areas with housing construction. So let us. So if you look at this map in its entirety, right, you can see that anywhere the ground gets disturbed. So for example, the orange, street opening, the blue, the turquoise, drain lane. So anywhere the ground gets disturbed, the rodents, they run towards the blue dumpsters, and we can conclude that, when the ground gets disturbed, these rodents go towards the blue dumpsters to get food and water. That's what this map shows us right here. So with that being said, armed with this information, we can now begin to strategize how to address the rat issue. Again, we had to do this so we could have a great strategy to address the issue. If we don't know the extent of what's going on, then we won't have a comprehensive strategy to deal with the issue. So we've been paying attention. We've been gathering information. With the information we gathered, we were able to create this map. So it's not like we're not doing anything. We are doing something. We are listening to the residents, and we're going to come up with a plan very soon. All right.
Dave, can I ask you a real quick question?
Yes.
So one of the things that we really need to look into is why is it that there is a larger concentration down by Jennifer Street on Pineville and not behind the restaurants in downtown? There, you know, is it a difference of procedure? Is it a difference of the type of dumpster they use? You know, why is that so wildly different between those
So-
the two segments of restaurants?
It depends on where the construction is going on. So anytime the ground is disturbed, right?
But
Those
we've been doing a ton of construction downtown. I mean, that's the most construction we've been doing anywhere. The
Yeah.
concentration should be massive over there. So there has to be a difference of the way these businesses are handling it in downtown as opposed to the ones down on South Main Street.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, and I will get to that point once I finish the presentation. But yeah,
Okay.
there are a few factors that affect what we're seeing at the moment.
Okay.
Right, Carrie.
I was going to contribute some of the stuff I learned on Friday, but I can wait until you finish your presentation today. I learned some key points that I think it might be helpful if you know, we want to hear from you, but I think, you know, if I can share some info to help support your work, I'd like to be able to do that. That's all.
Absolutely. So based on this you know, Reading specific rat map, we know that we need to address 4 items. So the first item will be the rat population and habitats around town. Those definitely need to be addressed. We need to address the road construction and drain lane activities going on around town. 2, 3, we need to address the building construction and renovation going on around town. And 4, we need to address the annual dumpsters that are associated mostly with restaurants. All right, so to further dissect that, in terms of rat population and habitats around town, we at the health department understand that rodent control is a concern. We also understand that the method of control and prevention we use is critical to the survival of other animals. Studies have shown that second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides biomagnify across the food chain and adversely affect wildlife, including birds of prey and other predatory species. These toxic substances used in rodent control are causing secondary poisoning in our wildlife, thereby undermining ecological balance and unintentionally worsening the very rodent problem they are intended to solve. So, in other words, each bird of prey lost due to rodenticide consumption leads to more rodents left checked. As a result, we are limited in terms of what pest management companies to partner with for our rodent mitigation plan. A lot of pest management companies out there still use rodenticides. Our goal is to solicit bids to select a company that is willing and able to help provide and implement a safe, humane, and environmentally friendly rodent control program for our town. I know that in the packets that I sent to the board, I included a price proposal, but please disregard the proposal that I sent to you. We have to solicit bids and then go from there. So just disregard the proposal and refrain from, if you could, asking questions about the proposal because it's not relevant at this point. In terms of road construction and drain lane activities, at this point, the health department has no idea when drain lane activities and street openings occur. We have no idea when the permits are issued. You know, we just drive and see road work going on. In the coming weeks, I plan to meet with DPW leadership to determine the process required to obtain these permits, you know, the drain lane and the street opening permits, and then pretty much talk to them about how the health department can play a role in the rodent mitigation process due to, you know, the street opening activities and the drain lane activities. It could be something as simple as baiting the manholes prior to road work and drain laying activities. You never know. So I will have a chat with DPW leadership and figure out a path forward. In terms of building construction and renovation, we already require baiting prior to any building construction activities. But the issue we have is that we don't have the capacity to monitor bait levels as the constructions proceed. So I plan to meet with the building commissioner to figure out how we can put this responsibility on the contractors to help ensure accurate monitoring throughout the entire building construction process. So in the coming weeks, I will be meeting with the building commissioner to figure it out. And in terms of the annual dumpsters associated mostly with restaurants, the plan is to revamp our dumpster regulation to hold restaurant owners and landlords accountable. Our current dumpster regulation is essentially ineffective. I will use this opportunity to transition into the Pineville Street complaint and the Domino's Pizza dumpster. But if you have any questions regarding the rodent plan, please go ahead.
Carrie, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Aday. Thanks for that. So I mean, I don't know, I'm a newly minted, rat aficionado. I don't know what quite the term is, but it was a very informative session. I was really glad to be able to attend. And Aday, I thank you for the data-based approach that you've taken. I agree wholeheartedly that making decisions absent data is sort of it's a best guess circumstance. And thank you for getting access to that GIS person so that we could map out and understand what it is that we're dealing with. I think I'll say, so there were 4 things that I learned that I took away from the session, and they align pretty nicely with what Aday was saying. So one is, we'll start with construction, and it's just sort of a common misconception that construction somehow creates rats. It doesn't create them. It distributes rats, right? We don't see them, but once, as Aday said, the ground gets disturbed, then the population distributes and they go elsewhere. So that's, I think it's always helpful to kind of repeat and clarify. I know that's not what you were saying, Aday. I know, it's that the ground gets disturbed and the rats that we have are disturbed and they distribute out into other places. I learned too, kind of obvious, but we talked about the birth control that we have been working on in we did a little attempt of that in Reading, and they said that that's a not a bad thing, but that it's a continual thing and it's expensive. So it has to be continually present in the system in order for it to work, and it has to get all of the rats. So it's not necessary. It doesn't solve anything by itself, certainly. Let's see. I learned, let's see. So I'd say, one of the things that the speakers were inspectional services folks from the city of Cambridge, the city of Boston, and city of Cambridge, city of Boston, and I forget, maybe Liv, if there was another community there, but super knowledgeable people, tons of experience. Takeaway, we cannot kill our way out of this, right? There is that certainly part of it is trying to use the rodenticides, but that's not the sole solution. And that you really need to interrupt the cycle for the rats. It's about there's a 3 little thing, right? It's about harborage, it's about access to food, and it's about access to water. So if you can interrupt, and I'm so excited because our environmental health person is nodding her head, so that means I'm doing it right. But so it's harborage is where do they live, right? Access to food I think that's kind of goes to what you were talking about, Kevin, of, well, how come that's down here at Pineville versus not at the restaurants? My 30,000-foot assessment, based on what I've learned, is that it sounds like the restaurants, that the restaurants, the dumpsters in the downtown area are well maintained, and the covers are on, and the little weep holes where they let water out are plugged so that rats can't climb in. And it, you know, the pictures that we have in our packet about the dumpsters closer to Pineville do not show that. So that's my, so, you know, we can, you know, I don't know how you interrupt harborage exactly, you try and prevent, but there are things too about dumpster placement and making sure that people aren't putting them, you know, people like want it on the edge of the property far away, and that's not really a good thing. You want it on the pavement. Yeah, there are ways to interrupt this. And then I think the last thing the thing that I thought was kind of great was the speaker kept kind of reminding us that rats are kind of everywhere and that it's a human problem, right? It's about human behavior. It's about making sure that the dumpsters are closed and the harborage opportunities are limited, and, you know, making sure that water isn't available. And that goes to all sorts of other things that we're doing in public health. I was so glad that I was in that session. Thank you, Aday, because you're, you know, I think I'm doing layman's terms kind of the work that you have been describing for us. And I'm excited to get to share it all. I don't know if anybody has any questions or what I said, or but who knew I'd be excited about the rats.
I have, okay, ahead, Sal.
I just want to say I've been in the, you know, the food/seafood processing industry forever. I've dealt with this problem firsthand since I was a kid. The biggest thing is, you know, keeping the dumpsters closed, keeping the rats out of the dumpsters. You could see where in a few of the pictures you could see like the plastic lids closed, but the rats will chew right through that. I almost want to suggest like that we have to have metal containers with the sliding doors are the best on the side. You know, those just the covers that fold down. If a bag gets in there, it just holds it open. Where the sliding metal covers, and like Kerry said, the drains have to be plugged. They drain because that's the easiest way for a rat to get in. You know, but it's
Invitation says, come in and eat
exactly
our food.
right. You might as well just put entrance on top of the hole, right? So yeah, I mean, Kerry, that was awesome what you said. Yeah, and it's an ongoing problem. It's just, you know, it's so hard to battle them. But I was looking at that map today, and I was wondering, so there's a lot of sightings up on the South Main Street. Who actually puts the sightings in? Because there's less, I don't know if there's less homes directly in back of the restaurants in like the center of town. So I don't know if people are just seeing them more because they're there more. I don't know how it's actually reported. You know, so I'm not saying it's it's a bad job or anything. I'm just saying like where is the data coming from? I guess is in my mind.
So thanks for asking that question. The data is coming from residents and, you know, phone calls we receive on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the limitation of the map. One very important thing to note about this map is that it may be the same person reporting the same rat sightings multiple times, or it may be an organized group of people reporting the same rat sightings multiple times. So that's one of the limitations of the map.
Of course, yeah. But it also, I mean, it shows that there's concentrations of people seeing it. It can't be the same rat. There's not only one rat in that area. You know, so maybe the people in the center of town are not there late enough, or I don't know, maybe coming out of a restaurant and don't really see them. I'm not sure, like, you know. But if I'm in my house and if I see a rat around my house, I'm more likely to report it than if I see it around a restaurant, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, if you have an organized group, that is,
Right.
ready to make sure things get done, they
Yep.
will report sightings multiple times, a
Yeah.
day.
Gotcha. Understand.
I make a couple comments. One is for for the folks who weren't part of our discussions 6 to 9 months ago around Washington Park and the use of, you know, poisons, which, as Ade points out, can poison, predatory birds, like owls and so forth. We did have someone come in, and I guess the product is called ContraPest, and then basically it's a birth control, so that when the rats eat it, they become less fertile. And so, given that they can reproduce every 6 to 8 weeks, it's over a period of time that it reduces the rat population, and it's harmless to predatory birds as well as dogs or cats that might, get their way into the bait, the bait boxes there. That's just sort of informational, but it's a slow process. So my other two questions, one is around the dumpsters, and I have to say that back in September, after we heard about the Pineville complaint, I did take a casual walk. I think rats feed mostly at night, but clearly there is an issue there in that area with the restaurants there. And we've, to be honest, we've had some turnover in the department. We haven't had an inspector for a few months. I think resources were stretched. But I do think that whereas we do have to have a comprehensive plan, I do think we can address something very direct and obvious in that area, like the open dumpsters, now that we're better staffed. And, and we should be, doing that as we develop a more comprehensive plan now that we're fully staffed. Would you agree, Ade?
I agree with that assessment. And I would also like to point out that we have a lot of ideas, but again, ideas with no funding, you're not getting anywhere.
Right.
So
So
again,
actually, that's my last point was in terms of what is it, you talk about a comprehensive plan, do we need a consultant? Do we have to go through a process to get a consultant to support the health department in doing this and putting together a broader plan? And, where might the funds for that come from, in terms of a comprehensive plan?
okay, so two things need to happen. First of all, we need to implement a dumpster management program, and I will get to it under item 5, I believe. Item 6. But before we do that, before we can implement a dumpster management program, dumpster regulations have to align and make it possible for us to be able to implement a program. Now, we can't implement a program if the regulation is saying something else. We have no leg to stand on. So our goal right now is to revamp our dumpster regulation, bring it before the board, and hopefully get it voted on at the next meeting. And then that paves way for us to put together a comprehensive dumpster management program. But the regulation, as it is written, doesn't allow us to be able to do that at this point. we can't do much with the way the regulation is written. So, in terms of funding, from what I understand, this is going to require a lot of money. And, last night, the select board approved the reallocation of the remaining ARPA funds in the amount of $21,359.91 to go towards our rodent mitigation efforts. And again, this will allow us to begin initiating a framework for our proposed rodent control program. There's another funding source that I'm eyeing, which is about $16,000. So if you combine 16,000 with 21,000, we're right at $38,000. And the rest of the funding, we can go. I'll talk to the town manager, and we can go to town meeting to see if we can get the rest of the funding. But again, we need to revamp the dumpster regulation. We need to put together a dumpster management program, and then continue to solicit funds. With all these meetings that I'm having, I might have a department that wants to chime in. So, for example, we have the schools, Reading Public Schools. It appears that they are still using rodenticides, and the goal is to meet with them as well. If we can all be on the same page and use safe and humane methods, maybe we can combine funds and have a townwide plan. So we're looking at all possibilities. We'll see what happens.
So, so what you're saying is that a comprehensive plan can't be put together adequately with just some coordination across the schools and the building commission and so forth. We really need additional resources, boots on the ground, people doing stuff that's gonna cost more money in order to address the problem. And that
Correct.
requires getting a company to come in and support us in this effort. And that's what the funds would be for. Is that correct?
Correct. So we need to start from somewhere. And this funding that we just received would allow us to initiate the process.
Right.
So we need to get the program up and running. It's not going to be perfect at the beginning, but it gives us a framework to build upon. So for example, if we start the program, other departments might jump in to help us out. That's what what I anticipate. We can get funding from other sources. The main thing is to get people interested, departments interested, stakeholders interested, and once we can get those things to happen, I believe the funding source would come from somewhere.
Okay.
I had a question for a day. So, when the inspectors go to the restaurants, I mean, in industry, I've always seen people move the best when their reputations are on the line. So, like establishments, I know you said we did a record number of inspections in the past month or so. Was there any write-ups about dumpsters, and what's the reaction, or like, I guess corrective actions from restaurants? Because I feel like if it's a small restaurant, you might not get the biggest reaction, but if it's like a Domino's and corporate finds out that they have a bad report about something, they really take that very seriously. So I was just wondering what the reports look like, the inspection reports.
So what I have done in other municipalities was to post inspection reports online.
Great, yeah.
Once you do that,
Yeah.
the restaurant owners know that their inspection reports can be accessed by anyone.
Right. Exactly.
They know that their bottom line is going to get hit if they have bad reports. So that alone holds them accountable. But the situation with Domino's is very unique, and I would explain why once we get to item 6.
Well, because we always do retrainings, and I don't know if there's if we're requiring retrainings of employees to it's always a first, a second offense. If an inspector comes in a second time and the same thing's happening,
Yes.
there's
So I want the outlook that I have for the health department is not to punish people. I want to educate people
of course,
to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Again, one of the main issues, we need to revamp our dumpster regulation. It is ineffective.
Yeah.
And we cannot have a dumpster management program based
Right.
on the way the regulation is written. So that's the first thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then
I just feel like we have a responsibility to people like Jennifer, who's a neighbor of Domino's. I think she said she was. And if we keep going in the same thing, I agree with not punishing an establishment right away, but it seems like there's a history of not complying to the rules.
okay, so why don't we just get into item 6?
Sure.
And what do you guys think? Should we proceed to item 6?
Sure, let's go ahead with that.
Let me see if I can share the map again. Let's plug in 274 Main Street. So this right here is Pineville Street. And you can see why they have rodents, why they're making complaints to the health department. We recorded a bunch of rodent sightings around Main Street and Pineville Street.
Yep.
If you trace it back, again, you can see that we have restaurant dumpsters around. Again, rats go towards where they can find food and water. Now, let's see. This is 274 Main Street, right? This entire building holds 10 businesses. Out of the 10 businesses, there's only one food establishment, which is Domino's Pizza. The property owner was not mandated to provide a dumpster for the 10 businesses occupying the building. And as a result, each business is left to fend for itself when, in terms of refuse disposal, trash disposal individually. So if you look over here, each business has 2 trash barrels, right? And we've come a long way with Domino's, because at the beginning, they used to have 2 trash barrels as well. A whole food establishment with 2 trash barrels. It's unheard of.
That's crazy.
Yes. So we mandated them to get a dumpster with pest control services around the dumpster. Now, the property owner has refused to provide a dumpster for 10 businesses. Domino's, because it's a food establishment, we made them get a dumpster. So this dumpster you're looking at right now belongs to Domino's Pizza.
Could you put it
Now-
up a little bit? Oh, dang, I can't see it. There you go.
Can you see
Thank
it
you.
now?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so based on the conversations we had with Domino's, according to them, the other businesses in the building are illegally accessing their dump to dump trash and other items, right? The locks on the dumpster have been damaged and broken so many times. So again, think about it. You have a huge building with 10 businesses, and because we don't have anything in our regulation that says you, the building owner, has to provide a dumpster for your businesses, the building owner can choose not to have a dumpster and put the responsibility on each business.
Right.
So again, according to Domino's, they cannot effectively manage the dumpster because so many unauthorized users have access to their dumpster. It's been broken into so many times. People have dumped things illegally in the dumpster. Even when they're closed, people go into the dumpster and dump things in there. Again, if we had an effective dumpster regulation, this would have never happened in the first place. A building that contains 10 businesses should be mandated to provide a dumpster with enough capacity to accommodate trash from all 10 businesses, period. So, again, we need to go back to our regulation. We need to revamp our regulation. Once we revamp the regulation, we are not short of ideas to fix the problem. But again, we cannot enforce things that are not written in the regulation. We have no leg to stand on.
Yep.
So that's the issue with Domino's. We plan to meet with the landlord. Matter of fact, our recommendation will be to add, if possible. We don't know how this is going to go, but we believe the dumpster that you're saying right now doesn't have enough capacity for all the businesses, in that building. So we will be meeting with Domino's again. I mean, they went from having 2 barrels to having a dumpster that's secured. So we're going to be meeting with the property owner as well, and hopefully we would have a resolution very soon. But again, we're going to work on this dumpster regulation, and we're going to make sure we get it to the board for a potential vote at the next meeting, because without revamping the regulation, we have no leg to stand on. We cannot have a dumpster management program. It's as simple as that.
One thing I was looking at too is the screen enclosement around the dumpsters. Those aren't gonna keep out rats. There's no way. It's not even close.
Right.
I saw squirrels in one of the videos too at the top of the fence. I don't know if any of you watched the videos but there was a squirrel running along the top with trash.
Mhm.
One of the Pineville videos.
Yeah,
But-
I think, Sal, that's just reading our regulations. That's more for
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
just to
clean up.
kind of hide the dumpster itself for the local
Yeah.
residents and whatnot.
That's about all it does.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's some interesting information today. That people are, I'd find it hard to believe that it's the businesses breaking into the dumpster, but maybe it's others that are coming by with their load of trash and breaking into it and throwing it in there.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty brazen to be in the same building and continue to break into a dumpster. I'm surprised that Domino's or the building owner hasn't put up any surveillance of any kind. If it was that much of a problem for them.
They, you know, if I'm looking at our current dumpster regulation, and 4.4, paragraph 4.4 says, the dumpster must be of sufficient size and capacity to eliminate overflowing, lids must be closed. The property owner and authorized agent of the business utilizing the service is responsible for ensuring the dumpster is kept free from odors, rodents, and all other nuisances. I mean, the fine for a citation is pretty minimal. It's $50 for a citation, and I guess for every day. But this would seem to suggest to me that, you know, Domino's is responsible for this dumpster, and you know, they may have a lot of sob stories about people breaking in and all this stuff, but ultimately they're responsible according to our current regulations and are liable for, you know, citations. And I'm looking at that dumpster and it looks like the left side of it has a cover, but the right side doesn't. So while I would agree that we should toughen up the regulations, I'm also not convinced that we can't right now, based on our current regulations, cite Domino's on a daily basis for, you know, for not having the dumpster covered. I mean, I'm not sure why we can't do that.
Yeah, Rich, I agree. I mean, in businesses I've owned and been a part of, the inspector doesn't segregate who owns the dumpster. It's who has the permit and they're responsible. So you would have to go to your landlord and you'd have to fix the problem, basically.
Who has the permit for this dumpster? Is it Domino's or the landlord?
Domino's.
Domino's does.
So they have the permit, they're responsible.
Yep.
I would agree with that. And also, I mean, if we're looking for some, you know, money to help us with mitigation, that's another byproduct of it. But I'm also thinking about just using penalty as a policy tool. It'll help them pay attention. And maybe if that's what's going on is other people are going into their dumpster, then it's going to be a motivation for them to try to curb it themselves. But also, as I think, Richard, you pointed out, it's, you know, it's a small fine. I mean, it adds up per day, but I agree. I mean, the regulation, the way it's written, I don't see why we can't cite them.
Yeah, I agree. It gets attention, right, Sophie?
Totally does, right? Think about
Yeah.
anytime you get a parking ticket.
100%.
You think
Yeah.
twice about doing it again.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of agree with them as well too. I'm definitely in your camp of penalties are not the way to go. It's you know, working with the businesses, and I think that's a great approach. This seems to be continually going on. I think if you're going to meet with them, I would just say, listen, my board wants me to start fining you. I don't think you have to do it at that meeting, but listen, my board, they've already directed me to start fining you. I'm just giving you the heads up. Next time our inspector's out here, you should probably have this thing taken care of. And
Yes.
let's see how they respond to that.
Yep.
That's part of the plan.
All right.
Can I ask a question, kind of building on what everybody else is
Sure.
saying? Do we have the ability to assess back fines because of non-compliance?
No.
Not written that way.
Well, that's lucky for Domino's then.
It'd be tough to say which days they were and weren't in compliance,
Oh,
right?
I mean, I think we could build a, well, yeah.
You'd have to document.
Okay.
Grab that time machine.
And it seems like our friends on Pineville probably have some records, but I agree. I mean, it's not worth kind of, you know, if we had the ability, then you'd push on it. But, well, I'll just say lucky for Domino's. But yeah, no, I'm in agreement with others that,
Definitely
the
in agreement.
board would like Domino's to figure out how to address the issues that are being, sorry, I'm not speaking for the board. And it sounds like others on the board would like Domino's to figure out how to
Yes.
address
Mm,
what seem to
yeah.
be continuing issues and, zero patience.
If- if Domino's starts seeing a line item on their P&L for fines, they're gonna figure out a way to fix it. I'll guarantee it.
Mhm.
I've seen it a million times in business.
In a day, just while you're kicking around this new dumpster regulation, I mean, you could go in a lot of different directions with this. I'm sure you've thought, every which way to look at it. There's almost something to be said for, yes, you put the fine on the person who pulls the permit. But I wonder if there's an opportunity where you say that ultimately the owner of the building will be responsible, held responsible for it. Because rather than having the health department continually going after Domino's, it's as simple as, if you don't start getting this in shape, you're not going to be leasing from me anymore, right? So make the building owner go after the establishment to keep in compliance. And I'm saying I'm not saying you have to do that. I want you to put that in there. Just think about it. There's a billion ways that can go wrong too. So make sure you think about both sides of it.
Well, Kevin, at least you can go after one person for 10 or 11 businesses, not 10 or 11. You're right. Yeah,
Makes our lift a little bit easier, and maybe gets the
100%.
result better.
Yeah. I agree.
Just some food for thought.
Yeah, good suggestion.
Sounds good. So we will be, revamping the regulation. We would send it through, to town council to make sure that we can legally do all the things you guys have suggested, and then bring it to the board for a vote. And hopefully, the board can vote on it at the next meeting.
Can I ask one other? Oh, sorry, Rick, go ahead.
But at the same time, I mean, I think what we're talking about is sort of three parallel tracks. One is to revise, the dumpster regulations to make them more stringent and effective. Second is to currently citate Domino's until they fix this problem. And third is, developing a more comprehensive program, which is a much longer process. So there's immediate fix. There's fix the regulations over the next month or two whenever we can get that done. And then there's a longer fix, which is a comprehensive rodent program.
Okay, so the citation fee that you see on the regulation is not
Yeah.
what the town approved recently.
Oh,
So it's a different set of fees.
okay.
So the fees need to be updated in the regulation before we start fining.
Yeah,
Again,
and I
there's so
think
many.
it's better to just go after them and say we're going to start fining, not actually do it. I think
Right. So again, it starts with, I'm not trying to disagree with the board or anything, but, it starts with making sure that our regulation supports our actions. So at this point, we need to fix and update our regulation so that when we actually act, we have paperwork to point to. We're acting based on this.
So is it written like that right now, Rich? You said it was, but it's
No.
a smaller
I mean,
fine.
that's my reading, at
Yeah,
4.4. I think everybody got the materials and,
yeah, we did.
I think I agree with Aday that there could be stricter, wording here in terms of landlord responsibility. But it seems on the face of it that the current regulation would allow for a citation. Carrie,
Also,
sorry.
Go ahead, Aday, sorry.
Also, if we
Right.
issue fines that are not consistent with our regulations, they can just go to court and
Right.
the fines can be tossed. It's as simple as that.
doesn't 4.9
again-
give us that ability?
Sorry, say that again.
Doesn't 4.9 give us that ability? It says right in there, violation of any of these is a finable offense of $50 a day.
Right. And
I mean,
and
it's
then
in the
every day
regulation
that
right
it
now.
continues is another $50.
So you saying that's what you sent out? Is that the regulation, or is there another there's something I'm missing here.
That's not this is the old regulation.
Okay,
This is the old regulation. So we need to revamp this regulation to reflect the current fees. The current fees are not on here.
all right. So now, a day, you've done a
Well,
good job.
can't we just cite them with the
Getting
current fee?
fees is very tough.
Right. Yeah.
But he's saying that because the regulation is not written, doesn't conform, it sounds like we can't. But so I'm gonna ask a question that I'm not sure I want to, but I'm gonna. How does it happen that fees that we might be assessing get updated without us knowing? It's right, it's a day, you're saying that there are
So
new fees that were
it is
issued
a-
by the town, but they
Correct, it
don't,
is
it
a
doesn't
21D.
conform with what the existing reg is. And I guess I'm confused as to how, what is our fee got updated without us knowing.
Same
Yeah.
here.
So it is a 21D, and the select board has jurisdiction over 21D, and they can raise the fees. So apparently, the fees got raised. I'm not sure exactly when, but those fees don't align with what is on our regulation at this moment.
Mhm.
Oh, so somebody got caught in a silo, not telling us what's going on. Got
Right,
it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that's a problem
That's
unto
a-
itself.
that
Certainly.
that
So-
doesn't help us.
And
That
this is
makes more
not,
sense now, what's being said. So, okay.
and
I
all,
still say, I
like
mean,
all our regulations are like this. So we will, in the next, coming meetings, we're going to be updating a lot of our regulations,
Perfect.
thanks to Amelia. I'm glad she's here with us. A matter of fact, tonight we have the housing code that we would like to revamp. Amelia did a great work, updating the regulation. And if you guys don't mind, we can jump into agenda item 7.
just one last question. Amelia, great to have you on board. And any of the inspections that you've done over the past month, was it down in that area by chance?
Down where Domino's is, I've been to Starbucks down there. I have been to Burger King, McDonald's. I've been to a couple of establishments on Main Street. And kind of to track back onto Sal's question, I do check dumpsters when I am out there inspecting. This is obviously my first time working for the town, my first time meeting the businesses, the managers. So and I'm more than happy to share inspection reports as well if that's something the board is interested in seeing as well. So walking into establishments, I've obviously, go over the 5 foodborne illness risk, and I hold that always at a precedent to make sure that establishments are complying and, working correctly with food safety. Obviously, active managerial control is huge when it comes to dumpster compliance. A few establishments are really good with their dumpster lids being closed, and if they are contained in a fence, keeping that fence closed. Some establishments, a little bit on the other end, keep their lids open, and I've had discussions with them about maintaining their dumpster lids, keeping them closed, and the effects of having those dumpster lids open. I haven't started finding anyone for their dumpsters. Obviously, it's my first go around with the restaurant, so I'm trying to build that rapport with them. For the most part, our businesses, I will say, are good. They have that active managerial control in place. They do try, and I appreciate that. So, moving forward and the further I get along in the inspections, and obviously being here, I do want to take that leap that you guys are suggesting and, finding and also, having the businesses understand both educationally and to environmental safety and public health safety, that the roles that they play are important and the regulations that we have and the compliances that they need to be in are for the safety of everyone, the environment, the town, the public in general. So I hope that answered the question, and if I miss anything, I'm happy to add any more.
No,
Thanks,
that's
Amelia.
great.
Yeah.
Looks like we got to get those fines revamped so you can actually do that.
Yeah.
Might be
Okay.
worth asking town council about the discrepancy and what we are able to do or not able to do around the actual amount.
Yes, we'll do all that. And
Amelia, I just want to say, I know your job. I deal with a lot of inspectors in my line of work, and you're totally right. You have to build that relationship, first, and then you can't come in with a hammer because nobody will, you know the stories about the inspectors after that.
Exactly. And to
Yeah.
be honest, I've seen inspectors like that. I've seen people go in, not building that rapport yet and being off the jump, just, really aggressive and,
Yep.
really throwing that authoritative role that
Yeah.
we have to the establishments. And I've seen the repercussions of building that relationship like that. I've seen the repercussions of not building
Mhm.
a proper relationship with establishments, because my goal is to help establishments. My goal is
Yep.
to go in and catch what that active managerial control, that surf safe certified person is not catching, and educating them and ensuring that we're staying in compliance, we're staying in food safety, we're staying in those roles that are important, and they're important for the public. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that is where I
Very
am
smart.
currently
Okay.
at.
Very smart. Very smart. Very smart approach. Thank you.
Rick, before we move on, I know this is a little unconventional, but I have a feeling this is it's within your purview as the chair to allow for public to ask questions that are directly in relation to what's going on in their immediate life. So I'm assuming Debbie, with her hand up, is probably a Pineville resident. But you don't have to. But again, I just raise it because it is within your purview, even though it's outside the norm. It's a little different, right, when it hits home, so to speak.
Right, right. I mean, we can certainly have Debbie take a minute for any comments you might have. We did have the public comment section, and we have other agenda items, but
Yep.
Debbie, do you want to take a minute?
Yes, thank you so much for allowing me to do so. I joined the meeting a little bit late, so I wasn't sure if I missed public comment or whatever, so I apologize for logging on late. I heard most of the 20 minutes or so of the conversation, and I really just want to say my backyard is immediately on the other side of the dumpster, immediately. I hear and I appreciate all of the sentiment of, playing nice and building a rapport. I totally understand that. I'm in corporate business myself and have been an inspector. This has been going on for too long. And we're talking about, oh, well, the fees and the registry and the policies, whatever the case may be. Myself and my neighbors are the ones that are digging the dead rats out of our backyard and not being able to have cookouts in our backyard and not being able to garden in my backyard, which is my passion, without finding rats. And it is very upsetting to me that the town that I have lived in my entire life, the amount of support in this instance is quite upsetting. My neighbors, we've invested in pest control. The only thing that's within the fence around that dumpster is one black box, which hasn't been touched. I look out my back window over the dumpster. Once a week, the dumpster gets emptied. It used to be when they flipped the dumpster upside down and then back, the covers would close. The past 2 months, I see it every time that dumpster is emptied, the cover does not close. That used to be once a week, the dumpster cover was closed. For the past 6 months, those dumpster covers are never closed. I can take a picture of it every single day. And so what I'm hearing you folks saying is, well, the dumpster's not big enough for the 10 businesses that are in the building. It's got nothing to do with that, okay? It's not that the dumpsters are overflowing. Domino's is the only business there that produces food. Food and water is what is attracting the rats. Unless that is secured and controlled and managed, nothing else is going to take care of these rats and how frequently they populate. I mean, you guys all know this. You know this. And I don't mean to get upset, and thank you for the moment to allow me to say something, but I hear us going around and around and around about the policies, and I'm the one picking up dead rats in my backyard. I don't think that's fair. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. We hear you.
Yeah, I would agree. Debbie, I've been on the board for a while now, and at the start of all this, as Jennifer mentioned, some 5 years ago. I think what you're hearing tonight is a very different approach and a very more tactical approach, I think you will start to see some changes. One of the parts of the day just educated us on is that we have to change our regulations first before we can be super aggressive with businesses in the way of fines, which we're going to do so as fast as we can, so we can allow our new inspector to be able to do just that. That's definitely step one, and the dumpsters are going to be a big part of moving forward from what Ade has described to us earlier in the meeting with changing the dumpster regulations. And all of these things will get looked at and addressed, and it's going to be, made very well known to all the businesses what the new regulations will look like and how they're going to have to adhere to it. So we hear you.
And I know how long regulations take to get implemented.
It's going to take less than a month on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I offered to take pictures every single day, and I was told, well, it didn't count unless the town inspector took the pictures. But I look at it every day. I take pictures of it every day. Those covers are never closed. I mean, while the regulations are being revamped, perhaps someone could have a conversation with them. I mean, they drag their barrels across the parking lot at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night. It wakes us up. Okay, we put up with that, but nobody closes the covers, and there's holes in the dumpster covers even if they are closed. They are not managed. But and I appreciate that it's going to improve going forward. I'm truly hopeful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, should we move on to the next agenda item?
All right, so we are also looking at revamping our housing code to be in line with rodent control, and I'll have Amelia talk about that.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen, so give me 1 second here. I made a slideshow just to make this a little easier. So we've adopted some updates to Section 10, our human habitation regulation for the town of Reading. It is in reference to the old 105 CMR 410 minimum standard fitness for human habitation state sanitary code. The state sanitary code was updated in June of 2023, I believe. So we want to get in line with the state regulation for minimum standard of fitness for human habitation on our end as the town. Regarding the regulation, I highlighted what I felt through the complaints. I also have only been here a month, just to preface that, the complaints that we have gotten and what we felt looked the best with what we were working with in the town. The housing code itself is very long, so I obviously didn't want to include all parts of the housing code. I just wanted to pick out some aspects to it that pertain to the town and the complaints that we receive. So I'm going to actually pull up the updated version for you so we can kind of look through it together. So the first 2 sections didn't really change. They are the same as the original regulation. What you see highlighted here is these new fines that Ade has been talking about that Select Board has approved and implemented for the town. So when it comes to offenses, there's obviously 3 offenses and then subsequent additional offenses. So the first fine would consist of $50, a second fine $100, and $150 for additional offenses. And this would be implemented into all of our regulations moving forward that we amend. For the first one, I know this topic is very sensitive tonight, so I want to preface that 550 elimination of pests is for problematic properties that actually harborage rodents and are not doing something about that issue. So residents or units, dwellings, properties that have an issue with harboring rodents, with what Carrie spoke about earlier, if there's food, water, leaf piles attract them, loose debris attracts them, they love to dig, they love to hide. Any of those outstanding issues would correlate with 41050 that we could put back on residents and remind them that they're actually supposed to be maintaining their property to eliminate any harboring that rodents could cause. So again, just because that is a sensitive topic tonight, I did want to outline that this specific section would be for problematic cases. Obviously, we wouldn't go to Pineville Ave and, tell you guys that this is something you'd have to control yourselves, because we know that this is an issue coming from the Domino's dumpster. So I just wanted to preference that. Moving forward, 560 is in regard to refuge. So this is the storage, collection, and disposal of trash, recycling, yard waste, food waste. Homeowners, property owners, landlords are all responsible for their own trash collection. Some complaints we received have been trash left on properties and not maintained. So this would just allow us to reinforce that trash is something that residents, landlords, and homeowners or property managers must maintain and keep situated. Moving along, 410, 570 is the maintenance of an area. So that kind of correlates both to the above sections regarding refuge, which is trash, pest activity, any hazards. This also allows us to relay back to homeowners, landlords, that any accumulating water is actually a breeding ground for mosquitoes, which is detrimental in the summertime, as mosquitoes can carry diseases, as we saw this summer, and also any health and safety that affects the general public. That would also include overgrowth, as that is a harborage for rodents. They do love long grass, leaf piles, again, stick piles. They love to tunnel under those types of environments. And then 410, 910, 920, and 930 is our ability to, I don't want to say penalize because that's pretty harsh, but penalize, unfortunately, people that are not complying with this regulation. And ways we do that is through a ticketing system. It's also through an order to corrects letter that is written out, and it actually we pull out housing code specifics that refer to what is in violation on that property, and the owner or the landlord are given a certain amount of time to fix that issue. If that issue is not fixed within that time frame, we do ticketing, we ticket, and then in some situations, which this is never, the goal that we want, is we do take people to housing court. Again, housing court is very last resort. We want to work with everyone, and we want to ensure that neighbors are, in a way, protecting neighbors when it comes to environmental safety factors, in just maintaining your property. And, oh, I apologize. That is some updates that we've made to Section 10, human habitation.
All right, so you all have the updated regulation in your packet that we sent out. You guys can take the time to review the updates and have a potential vote at the next meeting, if that sounds okay. We don't have on this agenda, we don't have anything that would allow the board to take a vote on that. But the goal was to send it to the board, have the board review it, and then at the next meeting they can ask questions or they can take a vote to adopt it.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Aday, and just, I'm looking it over right now. Obviously, I'm assuming all the yellow highlighted in what you sent over is the new. Is this in its entirety? So that's Section 10. So we eliminated what was there before and replaced it with all the highlighted, correct? Just so I have a clear.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask one question too, real quick?
Sure, Sal. Go ahead.
So I did read through all the regulations. So I saw like a search warrant in one thing. So how would obviously be Amelia doing the inspections on the properties, correct? And how would she be directed to? Would it be a neighbor telling on a neighbor, or would it be like how would you how would you be directed to a house to inspect it, I guess is my question.
I can answer that Aday if you'd like.
Right.
So housing inspections can be based on complaints or complaints from neighbors, complaints from occupants, complaints from landlords, they can really come from anyone. So if, you know, a neighbor, which we get complaints for, overgrowth situations, trash, debris on lawns coming from, we use SeeClickFix, neighbors, anonymous calls, you know, all of that constitutes an inspection. Any complaint we receive, not just housing, constitutes an inspection on my end. So anything that comes in and someone is complaining about that we have the ability to have jurisdiction over would be inspection based.
So, or if you just drove by a house and you saw something egregious, you could go in. Oh,
So
you need a warrant. You need a warrant.
So when it comes to entering houses, we actually have to be allowed in. So in one instance for well-being checks, when police, fire, EMS, and health are called, let's say it's a hoarding situation, just to preface, once the occupant is removed from the house and we don't have the ability to speak to the occupant and be allowed entrance into the home, we're not allowed in the home. Police and fire, EMS, it's much different, but when it comes to the health department, we have to be allowed entrance to enter someone's property, even like land property. Everything we see is from a sidewalk public view. We cannot go on property. We can go as much to a door to ring a doorbell, but we cannot go in yards. We cannot go on side properties. So
Right.
when it comes to like a search warrant is very very extreme case that typically involves police. That wouldn't just be a sole like health department.
I was just wondering if it would be a little dangerous for you to just like, walk on somebody's property.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And yeah. People's property is private property. We don't enter private property unless we're allowed to enter private property.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes.
Can I ask, so what's highlighted in yellow here is actually sort of cut and pasted from the current state regulations, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And therefore, we would not necessarily have to, or we don't have to have a hearing about this new set of regulations because they're already adopted by the state. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But the board still needs to take a vote on it and adopt it.
Right. And lastly, it's sort of human habitation, but this would apply to vacant properties as well, right? So it's not, the properties don't have to be habitated, right? This could apply to a vacant property that has overgrown grass, harboring rats or other. Is that correct?
Partially correct. As we build the framework for our rodent mitigation program, we would actually introduce a vacant and abandoned property regulation that we can enforce. So, you know, we just have to have the framework first, and then we start adding things and start building. So that's the goal.
I think doesn't this regulation actually just include vacant lots of land? I think to your point, Rick, I think it goes a lot further than just vacant homes.
Oh yeah, no, it's not just vacant, but it includes vacant. Yeah.
So any vacant home out there is owned by somebody. You know, it can be a person, it can be the bank. You know, so whoever is responsible for that home, if we have a vacant and abandoned property regulation, we would be able to enforce that regulation and hold people accountable. We can even hold banks accountable as well.
Any other comments or questions? We'll bring this back at our next meeting.
You're good.
A day health department monthly report.
Yes. So since we have a great team, we're gonna start doing things differently now. Amelia has volunteered to pretty much share updates regarding food inspections and things she works on, and Liv is going to be sharing updates on surveillance and things like that. And I will pretty much just share information about the direction of the department where we're going, what we intend to do in the future. So I'll go ahead and pass it to Amelia.
Hello, I'm going to share my screen again because PowerPoints are something I enjoy. Okay. So since I started September 23rd, so it has been a little bit over a month now, almost 2 months now that I'm looking at the date. Since I started, I have done a total of 91 routine food inspections. And in the month of October, I have conducted a total of 67 routine inspections. That consisted of 4 to 5 inspections a day. Was a lot of work, but it was gratifying to see how our establishments are run. They're well run. They have great active managerial control. Obviously, we have some establishments that we're going to work on, and we're going to work on them. We're going to work on them together. And I'm really excited. From doing 91 food inspections, I'm very impressed from what I've seen with our restaurants. So I'm hoping with the addition of myself, we can stretch that even further. So I'm really excited. When it comes to complaints, since I've started, we've had a total of 9 complaint inspections, and these ranged from overgrowth, rodent sightings, trash complaints. A total of 7 of those I was able to close out, and I was able to get situated, which was awesome. And out of the 2 complaints that remain, they are in regard to overgrowth, which kind of correlates to an abandoned property that Aday had mentioned. There are owners involved, and I did some digging with our assessor's office, and it seems that a lot of the family has passed. So it's a little tricky on where we're going to take it from there regarding how we're going to get this property to get in compliance. But we are working on that. And the rodent one that I have correlates to the housing habitation that we've amended. We have a property that is overgrown and has actual burrow holes of some wildlife. I don't want to say that it's rodents because I'm not 100% sure. But I did observe some burrowing of some wildlife on the property, and that's where the human habitation section 10 would correlate to that complaint in getting the property owner to hire services to eradicate any, if it is rodent activity on the property, as it's causing a nuisance to that neighborhood. So that's what I've been working on. And I thank you for letting me share what I've been working on, and I am glad to answer any questions from anyone on the board or anyone in the meeting.
Thanks for all the hard work, Amelia.
Thank you very much, Amelia. You're doing a terrific job.
Good.
Yeah, great start.
Yeah.
A great addition to our department. Liv?
Okay, I will take over. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give a little nursing update. So in the month of October, oh, actually, Aday, do you have the graph? I can try to share my screen. Okay, is everyone able to see the Reading disease report?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So in the month of October, you can see that we had 17 cases of COVID, and that is coming to a decrease from September. I actually did a dive into.
Sorry to interrupt, Liv. Could you do full screen? Could you
Maximize it.
Yes, maximize.
Better? Okay.
Perfect.
Better? Okay. 17 cases, and we are coming down from October, which is great, but we're probably going to see a rise as the colder months get in and we start hunkering down a little bit more. I just did a dive into how many COVID cases we had last October, and we actually had 32. So it's like almost 100% decrease from our COVID cases. So that's awesome. So vaccines are great. We have had, well, that's kind of it for the disease reports. We have not had any foodborne illnesses or vector-borne illnesses in Reading in the month of October. That's why you don't see any information there. So that's going great. Thank you, Amelia, for keeping us on track with that. I will stop sharing now. In this fall, we've done 17 successful flu clinics. We had a public flu clinic tonight at the library, and I have one tomorrow night as well at the library. And then we have another public one during the day at the Coolidge Middle School on Friday. And you can get COVID, flu, Hep B, pneumococcal, shingles, RSV, tetanus, and pertussis. So your rainbow of vaccines. Come and get them if you need them. We've been doing homebound flu shots this winter. If you know of anybody, it doesn't have to be senior, just anybody in general that is looking for a flu shot in their home, I'm happy to come to the home and do that. That's been really great for our residents that are not able to get out. I've done roughly 40 of those. So that's been really rewarding just to see the residents. We are holding monthly blood pressure clinics. We hold them every month at the Pleasant Street Senior Center on the first Wednesday of the month, at Cedar Glen on the second Thursday of the month, and at Tannerville on the third Thursday of the month. So if you need your blood pressure checked, come on down. In January, the Middlesex X6 Regional Shared Services is going to be holding a Narcan Train the Trainer training that I will be going to. And I am hoping to bring that information here to Reading. And I know that our police and fire services are already doing that and implementing that in our schools. But I would love to kind of hold more public discussions in regards to that, as well as possibly bring in some opioid action kits into the town, something that Carrie and I learned about at the, well, I learned about it at the conference. I'm sure Carrie already knew. But the SAM, the Good Samaritan boxes, if anyone's heard of them, it's Narcan and breathing masks for individuals who have had an opioid crisis, an overdose crisis. Some other things that we're working on is we're working with the Reading Children's Cabinet to bring more resources to our youth in need. So we're going to be starting a clothing resource area where people can make donations and then families can shop for free for their families, and we're hoping to implement that in March of next year. And I will be starting to hold nutrition and diabetes support groups at the library, as well as parenting support groups for our new expecting and seasoned parents. And I just want to make one last remark. Just remember that the Grimway Farms carrots are on a recall for E. coli right now. So check where your carrots are from, because there is a recall, and even Trader Joe's is affected. So who knows where, just maybe stay away from carrots for a little while. And that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Liv, just on the thank you for that, and Aday, congratulations on rebounding from your hiring things, and thank you for bringing us these great folks. Where it's really exciting to see it, and I know you must be thrilled to have such qualified and professional and eager folks to be collaborating with.
Absolutely.
Liv,
So
I
excited.
did not know about the children's cabinet until I got to talk with you last week. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm wondering if it might be worth another minute to just explain what that is and who the participants are.
Yes, I would love to do that. Let me quickly pull up my information. So the Children's Cabinet was started through the Reading schools, and it was started by, if you know these individuals, Barbara Best and, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on her name. Barbara Best. I will come to her name, but it was two wonderful women have started this organization, and it is to bring different individuals in Reading that work with the schools together So we've got Mary Giuliani, who is our head of nursing for the schools. I myself have joined. Albert Pless is there, who is our DEI implementer. And we also have one of our superintendents that goes, as well as one of our members of the select board, and they are basically working together to figure out what needs the schools and parents and families have in this area of individuals that we are not serving, underserved individuals in our community, and just trying to figure out what we can do for them. Two of the main topics being resource accessing, how and where are the resources and how do we find them, and then the other being resource accessing and implementation, and addressing means and behavior for relational aggression. So those are our two big topics, just trying to figure out how to improve connectedness and belonging for kids in schools, as well as trying to find resources for families and kids to better and help them. So that is kind of what we're coming together to collaborate on, and we meet every couple months. I'm brand new, so I've just been to one meeting and I've just been overwhelmed by how amazing they are. So if you haven't heard of the Children's Cabinet, definitely see if you can reach out. I would be happy to provide. Oh, Teresa Wiggins. They're Barbara Best and Teresa Wiggins. They are the co-founders of the Reading's Children's Cabinet, and they are truly amazing.
Is
And
there an
just-
age? Is there an age? Oh, sorry. You had your hand up, Terry. I didn't even see that. Is there an age for the kids in there to go?
To go, oh, so there are specific students that have been invited to sit on the cabinet. They are three high school students. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but they're very impressive.
Okay.
I don't believe there is representation from the younger children in the community, but there are parent representations.
Okay. I was just wondering if they were
Yeah.
getting input from all age ranges.
There are parents of younger individuals that are there, and then there are 3 high schoolers.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry, Terry.
You're fine.
Okay,
You're
okay.
absolutely fine. So I like to not make Rick's life miserable because I ask
Yeah,
questions.
right.
And
I
I'm
haven't
trying
learned
to
that
make
yet.
it not, trying not to be a pain. Liv, so these people were community members who saw a need and reached out to different folks in different departments. because
Exactly.
It was kind of they recognized that it was cross-cutting, right? It wasn't something that could be solved in schools, but that it had implications for all sorts of departments. And I think for me, what was interesting, I mean, I love this. This is consistent with what we know about from our friends in the Substance Use Coalition and the protective factors for kids, as you know, in protecting them from potentially engaging in, what do we say? You know, substance misuse,
Harmful
right,
behavior.
substance misuse, any harmful behaviors. You know, the presence of just one other adult out in their family. So I know somebody else sees them. So this is kind of a way of taking action on, clearly some folks were seeing them. And then it ties in with our work in public health, which is rooted in and this is my stupid, right? It's the conditions in which we live, laugh, work, and play, right? That's what public health is. And if there are folks in our community that are not able to access resources, it's, you know, it's sort of the schools are seeing it and it's figuring out how we support them. How does the community support them? Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. Yes. And this was built from the ground up by parents. So this is really coming from the people, from the residents of Reading.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the only other thing I would like to point out is that we would be coordinating with the Reading Coalition to bring those sandboxes to our town. Hopefully we can tap into some of the opioid settlement funds to bring those here.
Hmm.
Great.
All right, thanks, Liv. And I will go ahead and give quick updates regarding the health of the health department. All right, so last night the select board approved the reallocation of the remaining ARPA funds in the amount of $21,359.91 to go towards rodent mitigation efforts. Another exciting news is that we have hired a new health admin. Her name is Haley Murphy. Her start date is December 2nd, and she is very excited to join our team, and we're excited for her as well.
That's great.
Also, coming up December 4th, we have a budget presentation before the select board. You all are welcome to attend the meeting. And lastly, at the next Board of Health meeting, we will present updates to our dumpster regulation and also our Reading specific food code. All right, I'll pass it on to Dr. Lopez.
Sorry.
Go
Me
ahead, Karen.
again. Just, so it's December 4th is the presentation and is, so
Right.
that's a Tuesday and that's at 7 o'clock select board meeting, yes? Or different
Yes.
time? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So talking about meetings,
Can I just interrupt 1 minute, Rich?
sure.
Sorry, December 4th is a Wednesday. Is
Yes.
it December?
Is that the, are you sure of that?
I was just gonna put it in my calendar.
Right,
Yes,
it
we
should be
have Wednesday, December 4th, we have fire, police, health, public
Okay.
works,
Got it.
public services. And then December
Okay.
10th, we have
Yep.
library, facilities, technology, finance.
Yep.
And
Sorry. Yeah,
That was my mistake. I said Tuesday because I was thinking it was a Tuesday select board meeting, but clearly.
that's what it,
it's
yeah, made sense.
Yep, 4th, Wednesday the 4th. See you then.
And they're gonna review the budgets for fiscal year 2026? Is
correct.
that,
Yes,
wow, that's effective July 1st.
yes.
Wow, 6 months. Okay.
Thank you.
So talking about meetings, if some of you recall, about a year ago, as we planned the meetings for this year, we said that we wouldn't schedule meetings in July and December unless there was a need or an urgency. And so if we were to have a meeting in December, it would be December 12th, which is the second Thursday. And, you know, as Ade pointed out, we have a couple things that we could vote on, and we did miss our October meeting because of miscommunication and a snafu there. So I'm thinking we should have the meeting on the 12th if everybody's agreeable to that.
Yep.
Yes.
I know
Agree.
Agree.
That's okay.
Okay, did that give you enough time to do the dumpster regulations over?
Yes, we are
Perfect.
actually working on it and it's almost ready.
Excellent. All right.
Thanks to Amelia.
Okay, yeah, let's definitely have that meeting then.
Yeah,
I
100%.
Okay, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions before we adjourn? Not seeing any, make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Gary, second? Okay, roll
Oh,
call.
real quick, sorry. I have
Uh,
just one update. Both Sal and I were town meeting members, were at town meeting, and the regulation for
Oh,
the
right.
fines with the, at the town forest with the dogs was a unanimous decision by town meeting to put
Great.
through those new regulations. So just wanted to real quickly give you that.
Thank you for covering that, Kevin. I was planning to be there, but then I was ill and I couldn't, I was gonna drive out to Springfield after town meeting
Mhm.
Tuesday night, but I was sick and I had to
No
revise.
worries.
Thank you.
And if
Thanks,
you have
John.
any agenda items you would like to talk about at the next meeting, please send them to me and we can get
Sure.
it on the agenda.
Roll call on the motion to adjourn. Sal,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
and Rick, yes. Thank you all for your
Great.
time, service, and we'll see you next month.
Right.
Right.
And,
Thanks, everyone.
and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Oh yeah, happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Thanksgiving,
Be
everybody.
well,
Thanksgiving.
be
Thank
safe,
you.
Same to you.
no carrots.
No carrots.
No carrots.
No carrots.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye
Thank
now.
you.
Night.